Yeah, I guess we'll just start off. If you want to just kind of give a little story about how you came online and found NFTs and got into that space.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So my name is Akhil. On Twitter, I'm pretty much doxxed. I kind of got into crypto a couple of years ago. I would say 2017 is really when I started. I got out of college. I started putting a little bit of money here and there, doing some research. I was there during that entire crash with the from going directly into 2017, going into 2018. It was a tough time, but when you're sort of young and you're just starting out, you're just like, whatever, it'll come back, right? So that's sort of what was my mentality at that time. And I think the first exposure I had to NFTs was CryptoKitties. At that point, I kind of didn't understand too much about what exactly were the benefits there, right? So you know how it went. It went like CryptoKitties, and then sort of like 2020, early 2020, like late 2019, you started hearing about actual art pieces starting to go for quite a bit of money. Then you start to see big headlines about people selling out, millions of dollars worth of art. At that point, I still was like, okay, cool. This is cool. You can say that you own this piece of physical work or digital work, and there's a blockchain record. But really, when generative art projects started coming around, that's when I started to pay attention, because I was like, okay, there's something cool here. There's cool mechanics of like brand building, almost like this sort of pseudo stakeholder status that you get in a company, or almost like a startup at this point. You get access to communities, you could build utilities around it. I started to think of it more of a path to get into basically communities and network. I think that's really where I saw the big benefit there, because you see people in real life pay like tens of thousands of dollars to go to a country club or like a golf club, right? How is this any different? And that's really where I started getting into it. So yeah, did some research, decided to get a mutant when it came out that night. And I was like, okay, well, this is the top project. They've sort of shown so far that they can deliver. At that time, it was exactly, I would say, 1 year ago. And the artwork looked phenomenal for the mutants in terms of like how it was doing it at that time. I'm sure there's like really good other projects now that have come out that have really like upped the game in terms of art. But at that time, that's what it was. So yeah, that's sort of how I got into it, man. And then eventually got a Bored Ape, and I've just been holding on to both of them and going up and down with the wild ride.
Do you still hold CryptoKitties at all, or did you actually buy any ever?
No. It was clogging up the network at that time, and I was just like, yo, like, I don't get this. Cool. Like, it's almost like this sort of Tamagotchi breedings hybrid Neopet style game. I just didn't see the benefit at that time, especially considering that there was no like scarcity mechanics or anything like that. You could just continuously keep breeding them.
So those are just unlimited, right?
Yeah. I think that's how it works. Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a bag of kitties. Maybe one day they'll go up. But yeah, so what drew you into? Was it mostly the community side of NFTs that kind of drew you into that, or was it mostly the art stuff?
I think it was a mix of two. I think it was the commercial and IP rights and the branding that I was starting to see. I think around the time that I really started paying attention to it was when Arizona Iced Tea picked up an ape at that time, right? And that's really what started to like kick off this whole like, holy crap, like there's an actual brand that bought an ape, and like, what's it doing? Is it gonna like put it on a can? And that's really what kicked off my interest there, because I was thinking, okay, well, if this is like the next generation of characters that come out of this, that people can build like stories, art, and like cool things around, there's a way to get in at an ownership level at this point, maybe 5-6 years down the line, when the market matures and these companies, just like how Yuga Labs now is like expanding from just like 11, I think there was like a Spaces maybe a few weeks ago where they said that they went from 11 employees to 75 now, right? And they don't plan on stopping that growth. A 75 employee company with like 40 engineers can do a lot. Like, I think people underestimate how many resources that really is.
I actually heard that on the Nelk podcast. I think it's like Gordon and them were actually on there, and I watched it like last week, and I seen that they were talking about that they went from like in January they had like just a certain amount of people, and then all of a sudden it's just like boom, they got 75 people, which is I think it's like they're smart. I mean, these guys are smart. They're a pillar in the space. The people that were there early, like the super early adopters, like they know about CryptoKitties. Everybody knows about Bored Ape. If you don't know about Bored Ape, you're just blind, right?
It's weird though, because social media, it's like this weird thing where like, I think around last year, there was like this huge wave of just social media memes that were like the regular social media that's not really anything related to crypto or NFTs. They really like ran with this narrative, NFTs suck, and it's sort of become like ingrained in the minds of general public. I would say it's like a difficult task to sort of unwind that. And whether it's through like actual like education, or whether it's just through like shutting up and delivering cool content, and hopefully over time it basically just gets adopted into the mainstream, right? Like I think that's the two avenues that they have to take. Yeah, in terms of like, I know you guys mentioned before we started chatting, or maybe Aisha mentioned it, about where do I see things going, or like what do I look for in projects, right? Just to expand on why I got into the apes is because of the fact that, they're building out this team and they have the runway. I think the runway is like the number one thing, whether these sort of like fluctuations in the market. People and these projects, different like DeFi protocols, they're just not set up to run like businesses for some reason. They still treat it like a pet project, but in reality, once you start making millions of dollars and you've made millions of dollars off your mint, like you gotta start setting up proper entities. You gotta start doing like a risk and controls. You need like an ops person on board who's really understands like, okay, well, we have to do risk mitigation to like properly capitalize for the next year, 2 years. So I think that's like probably the number one criteria that I look for is what's the background of the team, and what's the runway, and what's the backing. Like, do you have like a VC backing? Do you have something like the proof community type backing that you have over there? And finally, it's also just like, if you see it, you know it when you see it type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you just like when you see certain things and certain art or certain concepts come to life, you're just like, okay, like I get it, right? You feel some type of way. I think there are three times that I felt this. I think that's with the apes. I think with Azuki's, I just like had a feeling. I was like, Azuki is like, that art was just so good and it was so anime-like. I was like, I haven't seen anything like this. I feel like this is like a perfect medium for it. And then finally with Goblin Town, not because of how like ugly the art is like physically, but like that's the point, right? That's the point, is to be ugly, and like this extremely unique style of art that really hasn't been done before with Goblin Town. And I feel like those are a few examples, and people think, oh crap, like, maybe I missed out here, there. Just have money, and I mean, not just have money, just like have spare capital, and just keep an eye out for something that catches your eye like that. And I feel like over the course of weeks, months, and years, people start to build that skill.
And that's the thing we've seen. I mean, how many projects have you seen since Goblin came out, right? Like, they came out, they kind of took the world by storm pretty quickly. And then you've seen like all these other like free mints kind of like try to copy, even the same art, the same everything. That's one thing that I've noticed a lot about the space, like that I've been paying attention to. All these people they see something that works. They were talking about this in a space yesterday. It's like the copy paste method, like that it just doesn't work. There's some of them that look great. Yeah, like it's pretty much identical, stuff like that. That real copy paste method, it's like, oh, Goblin did this, so like we're gonna draw something like completely different, but the same art, and then just try to run with it. And I mean, we've seen that happen in the space, especially on Twitter. Like
yeah, exactly. Like every other day for like the last like 2 months, ever since Goblin Town came out. The only one that I saw was even remotely somewhat standing on its own legs, even though it sort of went that Goblin route, was that whole like wag die with the "we're going to die." They burned the mutant and everything. It's like I get it. It makes sense. They just have to, keep doing things to like differentiate themselves.
And that passion really shows too. Like a project that's doing a copy paste, that passion behind the team, I feel like isn't always there either. You can kind of feel that energy that the team has, or pick that up if you really do your due diligence. I feel like that shows. Yeah. So are you planning on doing anything with your IP rights with your 8?
Yeah, I am. So not necessarily mine, but I think around the time that Jenkins the Valet started, getting people signed up, in terms of, I had a few people reach out to me. They're like, hey, like I have this key, but I don't have a mutant. Like, let's partner up together. Let's split this revenue, and we'll use your mutant with my key. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do it, right? And that's really what got my wheels turning. Where I was thinking, okay, well, like right now, I've essentially licensed my mutant out, and there's no way for somebody to know in the future right now, like that I've licensed it out. And that's like a value add premium, regardless of what the number would be, whether it's like $5 in 10 years. That's still $5 future cash flow that needs to really be taken into consideration, right? For this example. And I thought to myself, okay, well, everything's like currently fragmented. Everyone's, using Twitter, Discord, Instagram, websites to really talk about, hey, I've licensed my ape here. Hey, I've done this with my NFT. But there's no way for somebody who wants to go and buy one or license one to really do that like due diligence in a central location. You have to be like extremely lucky. You have to go on OpenSea, hopefully find a .eth address, maybe take that .eth address and put it on Twitter. DM the guy. Maybe the guy doesn't even have his DMs open, right? It's like super cumbersome process to find out the previous history. And that's where I really got this idea for what the project or the platform that we're building, where essentially is like token gated profile pages for your NFT, right? Like it's almost like a resume for your ape or your whatever NFT that you have, because people are going to continue to build on top of it. And I feel like the value proposition is going to start moving away from like, or at least not like the weighting of like how people make decisions to buy or license is going to go from like how it looks and traits and rarity and all those current like quantitative metrics, and more so into like the story and like the history behind each digital asset. And that's what's going to start being more and more important for purchasing or licensing decisions, right? For example, I owned it, maybe a musician owned it, a CEO owned it. They have their like unique stories of how they've used their IP and their stories with their apes and stuff like that, right? It doesn't even have to be like rich people, right? Or famous people. It could just be like a random guy says, you know what, hey, look, I had this ape, I sold it, or maybe I bought it and the airdrop helped me pay for like my hospital bills or for like cancer or something. And, that's a piece of story that, it's on the platform, and somebody doing due diligence would type in the ape number and see that story, and it might resonate with them. So that's like the defining factor maybe between the 2 or 3 apes that they were going with. They were like, oh, hey, look, I also went through something similar, and I would like to buy this ape because of this person's story and their history. So it's almost cool. Like, yeah. So the platform is almost like a CV. It's like a mix of Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as like IMDb of like all the activities that you've done with your NFT all in one location.
Oh, super cool. I like that.
Because I mean, like on the blockchain itself, like we can track where the apes have been going and whatever. But I do like how you guys are sticking out by actually like putting the backstory from how it got from point A to point B to to point C, whatever. I like that. That's innovating for sure. I like
that. It adds a lot to the community. What'd you say it was called again?
Yeah, so it's called Track the Myth, and the reason why is because you're essentially tracking the mythology of every single digital asset over time, right? Telling its story. Honestly, I think we might go through a bit of a rebrand, partly because of the fact that some of the feedback that we got was the fact that people love the name, people get it, they understand it, but it's difficult to type into the URL. It's a little long, so we might, look for a shorter word and make Track the Myth the actual tagline instead. So
we don't all love rebrand. We actually went Yetis.
I remember. What was the Yeti name before this?
Official Yeti Yacht Club, and it's like because we did rent that mega yacht like for like our first like big event, and again like we listened to the community, right? Like we listened to the people. Well, are you guys like officially like a yacht club? Like are you guys only a yacht club? And we're not. We're more than that. So it made complete sense to change it, and then that's why we changed it to like the Yeti Secret Society, because the secret part of it is that there's, as you know, like, okay, people that have like, whether they have a lot of money or they don't or whatever, like people, but specifically people that have a lot of money don't like to give all of their information or their tips and tricks. If you want to get on a call with like Tony Robbins or like, meet him in person kind of thing, like you got to spend a lot of money to even be in the same room as this person to get the knowledge, right? Like to get some knowledge from them kind of thing. So that's kind of the thing about the Yeti, like for us with the Yeti Secret Society, is that like, it's kind of secret, so it kind of keeps people like on their toes, like, hey, like, what's so secret about it kind of thing? Like, I want to know what's going on in here. And it's like to bring people that we can have people of that stature, of that like successfulness, like in their careers and stuff like that. It gives our holders access to these people kind of quicker, so that you can be around them. You can learn from them. All of us are, we're all in Web3, we're all in Web2, like we're all whatever. But it's like, at the end of the day, like if there's something that I can provide to you, some sort of value that I can provide to you that you can like literally take out of the conversation that we're having and bring it into your IRL things, and it'll benefit you and make you more money so that you can dig deeper into the Web3 side or whatever it is. Like I'm all about like me, like especially like me and David, like I know like the whole team is, but you're on the interview with us right now. So like, we're all about value. Like how much value can we provide to people? How can we change people's lives? Because that's what we were doing. Like being like affiliate marketers, we've helped a lot of people change their life financially, mentally too. To the way that they look at things, the way they word things, the way that you react to certain things. So that's why like the whole thing with the Yeti Secret Society is we're trying to bring a portion of that over to the Web3 space. Because I mean, we all know, like I love Twitter, but Twitter's pretty toxic. And you get more likes, you get more retweets, you get more likes, and you get all that. Like right now at this age, like this time in our lives, toxic is what sells, right? Like if that's the thing that like, what can I post that's gonna like get me more clout? Like what can I say?
Yeah, it's like all the algorithms, like it's like controversy.
Yeah, it's all controversy, right? And that fucks with people, like straight up, like that fucks with people mentally. Like even shit posters, like I love my shit posters on Twitter, right? Like I love that because I think it's funny, right? I think it's funny.
Yeah, of course.
But then you look at some of these comments, other people are like bashing them and all these things, and it's like the hate overpowers the positiveness. Like a shit poster has to have like, and I don't know, like, I mean, like, I don't know exactly how they think or whatever, but I know that like from my experience from YouTube, I don't pay attention to comments. Like I don't really like read all the comments. Negative comments, that's the thing. People are always aiming to put a negative comment that's gonna get them a lot of traction. Hey, I can be like a superstar for like the day or whatever. It's great if you want clout, but it's not great for people mentally. I mean, you can only take so much as a human being bashed or being told certain things, right? So the whole thing, like with us, like with the Yeti Secret Society, is that we're just trying to like bring like-minded people all together in like one place, and that they can go there year-round, kind of thing too. Like, so that's kind of what we're focused on. What's your 2 cents on like IRL events or like IRL utility? Do you think it's a good plan? Like, do you think it's a good idea?
So I went to the first Ape Fest and with the yacht and like the party or whatever.
Yep.
And then this year they did a much better job, right? With their 4-day Ape Fest. I would say totally. I think that it's one definite crucial component that you can add to a project, but it's not like the be all end all. Personally, I think it might be like a small portion of things. Like when all the things are said and done, because like online experiences are probably way more accessible to people. And I think especially like, for example, like you guys, right? You guys are focusing on IRL events with the parties and like different clubs and stuff like that. It just becomes very difficult to potentially find a market, right? To find a market for yourselves right there, because to really enjoy the benefits, I have to somehow find my way to this location. Maybe I have to like take time off work. Maybe I have to spend money on tickets to get there. Maybe on a larger scale, like it becomes easier, right? When you have multiple locations at a lot of places. So people have like way more proximity to bring people in. I guess that's another question. Let me ask you guys this. Like, are you guys focusing on existing NFT holders to bring them into your community? Or is it more so towards people who are not really in the NFT space? Maybe
we want to bring people in from outside the space for sure. Yeah, we want to bring people in from outside the NFT space because it's not a big market really. I mean, in general, I mean, there's a lot going on, but there's so much more in the, outside of that space that we could work on. One thing I've noticed too with NFTs, a lot of them can be clicky too. So if you have this NFT, you might not like these other people that have these NFTs and stuff. So we're trying to kind of bridge that gap of networking too. And if 2 NFT holders from a different project want to come together inside of our app or whatever that we put, and have a chat because they had a bad day on Twitter, somebody was shit posting or whatever, they can talk to each other. And we want to just really build that good community of people outside NFTs, bring them in to learn more about it, and network with other people that are in different projects too. Like we want to bring all these things together because we're not trying to take from anyone. You know what I mean? We just want to build a solid community because there is me personally, I've been doing training and stuff online for 7 years now. So anytime I'd learn new things with affiliate marketing and stuff, I'd always get excited to teach people. It's one of those things that I'm really passionate about too. And Dan he's got into that as well. So just that networking and seeing how people light up when you share something that helps them, or just listening to them because they have a secret that you don't know, and just having that safe place. And it's hard in that space too because there is a lot of negativity. So we're just doing the best we can to try to
it is
get out
there. And it gets exacerbated when markets are down and people are a bit underwater on their assets, right? Everyone's kumbaya when like things are going well. Maybe that's a benefit of building in a bear market because you sort of set the expectations low to begin with. Barrier to entry is even lower, right? Because I think mid prices, the value of NFTs are just lower in general. So it's a lot more accessible to people to get in now.
And I feel like too, even in markets like this, there's going to be plenty of opportunities through our community to figure out other things to do to raise their income, or just, come up with new ideas to just keep growing,
Exactly. And that's the thing, like we're not trying to compete. Like we had an ad out and we were just testing it kind of thing. And there was a chart. I don't know if you've seen it, you've probably seen it, but there was a lot of FUD going on kind of about it. That comparison chart. And the thing of the comparison was that we weren't comparing ourselves to to say that we're better than Bored Ape or that we're better than Moonverge or that we're better than any project in general, right? Like we support and have open arms to all of these. Like, you know what I mean? Like Bored Ape. I love Bored Ape. I love Mutants. I love Moonbirds. I love all that. Like it was mainly just to show, like, look at what these have done. Like look at where they're at, kind of like in the space, like what they're considered in the space. Like I said, again, back to the whole thing about Bored Apes. Like everybody knows Bored Apes, right? Like they do. So that comparison chart was mainly just showing like off what we're going with, like for like the IRL events and stuff like that. Like this is the extra add-on things that we're adding into the community for everybody. Not like, hey, look at us, fuck you, we're better. That's not the meaning at all. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And some people took it like that, and it's totally fine. Like we're totally okay with that. Again, like we don't have any like hate or like we're not bashing any projects, but it's the whole point. Like we're just trying to bring the communities together, because like people always say like wag me, like shut the fuck up. No, it's not wag me. We're not all gonna make it at the rate that we're going right now. We're not all gonna make it, because like you guys are
at the rate we're going, nobody's gonna make it.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like if you guys really want to wag me, like the whole thing is that we got to bring everybody together. We are all early as fuck. Like literally we are. We're early. Like we're super early. So what's the best way to make this better? We all need to kind of work together. Whether you got a Bored Ape, whether somebody got a Doodle, whether somebody got a Moonbird, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, okay, if you're judging somebody else because of whatever PFP they have, like how is that not making you kind of like racist? Like, and I don't want to get about the whole like race thing, but it's like, if you think about it, you're judging somebody for whatever they can afford or whatever they can't afford, instead of just saying like, hey, like we're all here early, let's just build this together. You know what do you kind of get where I'm coming from?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like fully up to date with sort of this controversy that you're referring to, but I'm sure it's like, you know, I guess it's probably some comparison chart or something, and people start to get tribal, right? Because there's money involved and stuff like that. So,
what do you think is the most important way to bring people in from outside of the NFT space? What do you think is like a cool thing you'd like to see out there that teams do to bring people in?
Yeah, I'd like to see a lot more like outreach and education work that people do in terms of like, whether it's going into schools, whether it's going in community centers, elderly centers, all these things, like, you know, whatever level they're at, right? You talk to them at a very basic level about the blockchain itself, or you go more into the NFT side of things, or maybe you go talk about a specific NFT, or you just host events and maybe you sponsor them with the money that you've made. I think that's like the number one thing in terms of adoption. Get more people into this space and understand like, hey, look, we're sort of in this forefront of a paradigm shift that it's still forming and hasn't fully formed. And that's why people don't fully understand, like, I don't get NFTs. I don't understand it. Let the paradigm shift like actually form fully, right? It's still like in a very fluid state right now. We're also figuring things out. People are making mistakes. People are experimenting with things. And I think it's like something's going to stick in terms of utility. And when it does, and when somebody executes it on a very like professional level, that's when like that use case will become pretty obvious. So yeah, like onboarding people, like helping them make MetaMask, maybe maybe more information on security and how to protect yourself, which is another like huge discussion and problem by itself, right? Like for example, wallet security is such a big issue that us with our project ran into too, right? For example, like, in order to log on to our beta and post on your NFTs page, you obviously have to show us that you own your NFT, right? And I grossly underestimated user hesitancy to connect their wallets with NFTs inside of them to a site without social proof, right? Like we don't really have social, we're not no Gucci or whatever, like a Walmart with like a huge presence, or Twitter, right? Where there's like a multi-billion-dollar company behind us that, has its reputation on this. Yeah, it's wallet safety, education. The UI just got to get better. The user experience, onboarding has to get better. I basically wanted to get to a point where everything is done via like iPhone apps, like super easy. Even the experiences for the NFTs themselves are all built into like, whether it's like an app that you have your collection on, or whether the collection built its own application, or whatever the case may be. Like that's when things will like really start taking off.
So like convenience.
Yep.
Like just make
100%. Convenience and safety. I don't even want to think, if I'm somebody who's not really in this space, who's not technical at all, who's going to work just tired as shit because you're working a 9 to 5 and you're in like a job that's not necessarily anything related to tech, right? I want it to be as easy as like, I hate to say like online banking as it is now, right? As much as people in like crypto love to rag on banks, right? Like the Bank of America app is like fantastic, you know, even with their internal Siri, like whatever thing that they have in there, I can just ask like, hey, what's my routing number for this account? And it just like automatically pulls it up. I don't have to like press anything. So when things like become
So
that
convenience, education, and security, basically, mostly. Yeah.
Honestly, like if we focus on those three things, like right now, it'll bring more and more people into this space, basically. Yeah.
I've been seeing I heard of like a couple projects. So like Sammy Arriaga actually, like he actually made it so that people could actually buy with like a credit card. So like if you wanted to buy the NFT, you didn't buy with ETH, or you could buy with like a credit card. What do you think about that?
I love it. I think that's stuff that like is needed, right? You know, think about like the current, think about the current friction there is in terms of just buying a damn NFT on ETH or whatever the case may be, right? You got to buy it on exchange, right? You got to first that involves you understanding at a protocol level what the differences between Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, right? Then you got to understand what these like decentralized wallets are, and then you got to do research on that. Make sure you don't get scammed. Somebody has to show you what a MetaMask is, right? It's not always that obvious. Boom! Now you've paid like more fees to withdraw. You've paid more fees to do this. Then you've got to like go on a marketplace, initialize your wallet, pay fees for that. It's like, it's insane. It's like 4 or 5 technical and like fiscal like hurdles that are there for you to like get onboarded to like any ecosystem. And you know, with the way TikTok is and like basically all social media algorithms have changed the game, is there's no tolerance for friction anymore. Right, especially with TikTok, and this is like so insane that they've done this. Is you'll like lose anybody. Like 5 years ago, you could have done something, and you have like a little friction there in terms of getting to the next step, and most people would do it. Now it's like if the content doesn't just like magically understand me and get to me, I don't want it. I don't want to even move a muscle. And you know, in this environment, it's like adapt or die, right? You just got to adapt to that situation. You can't really think in the old ways where, oh, you know, the user will go through these like 10, 20 hoops. They just, it wants to get to a point where like a TikTok type app comes out or whatever, and it just recommends the NFT and just knows your personality through your browsing history or whatever the case may be.
Dude, that's actually really good. I like that. Almost like your For You page, but with NFTs. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, like, what do I buy today? Instead of like having to go look through like OpenSea and try to figure out like, hey, I think I like this or I think I like that. It would automatically just place everything right in front of you.
Literally, yeah. Like you just, maybe you fill out a form or something, or you don't even have to fill out a form. You just connect your Twitter, socials, maybe give it access to your like, you know, your search history or whatever the case may be. And you know, just, hey, like we realize that, you know, you're drawn to this type of content, this type of artwork, this type of utilities are what's important to you, and this is like this is a good NFT for you. No thought process. I hate to say it. I know, but it's literally where things are going, to the point where I was thinking to myself, right? It's like dating apps too, right? It requires you to swipe right, swipe left. Like, why can't, like, I feel like TikTok, it's so obvious. These companies are going to come up with dating apps that like use all your user history, and it's like, we all saw that Black Mirror episode. You know what I'm talking about? It's like that. Like, I don't even want to think. Like, just give me a person that you think is compatible through like all this algorithm. And I hate to say it, makes me sound like a Black Mirror like apologist over here. But like,
there's definitely enough tracking and data out there. There's definitely enough tracking and data out there to know exactly what everybody wants.
Yeah, exactly. And the dangerous thing is now there's like, we don't even know how the algorithms are making those connections. That we can't even like discern with like a human brain. It's like a black box basically. So, you know, things are going a crazy way. I just love to see the NFT space move more towards convenience and removing all these layers of friction to get on.
Very cool.
I love that. What is your take on like for price? When I got into the NFT space, people would complain about like 0.1. It was like, holy shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is kind of expensive. But like the 0.6, 0.7 was kind of like a good space to like kind of do mints or whatever. The way that it's going, like, this is just my opinion, the way that I've been seeing it, it's like we keep going downwards. Like for mint prices, like we keep going downwards. So it's like it started at this, and then like people were complaining about, and then it started going down and down and down and down. Like now, like people are doing free mints and just relying on the royalties. Where do you think we're gonna go from here? Are we gonna have to like pay people to mint their shit, or are we gonna like? Is it gonna start going like? Do you see it like kind of going to upwards? Like people are gonna provide more value, bring more utility, bring more things that like turns people's strengths and charge a higher price.
So there's so many there's so many like factors. Let's start with one of the factors is the elephant in the room is the liquidity is gone. People's liquidities are gone. Like I hate to say it, right? Like I own like the Bored Apes and all the land and shit. But dude, they made us drop like $170 million on just like fees to mint. That's $170 million of liquidity gone like overnight in one mint, right? Yep. And that could have been used to mint like 100 million other things. Or just like boost the ecosystem or like whatever the case may be. So that's one. And I'm not like blaming them specifically, but I'm saying like in general, gas fees is a problem and that eats into a lot of these things, right? Yeah. The second thing is, and I think people are starting to like get hip to this and talk about this a lot, is pseudo swap and the fact that secondary royalties are not enforced at a protocol level, right? Like it's just not coded in. So it's like the marketplaces have to basically honor it, right? And if they don't, which is what's happening with pseudo swap, is no longer you can rely on like secondary sales to really bring in that value, right? I'm sure there's ways around it. I'm sure there's ways to like either blacklist or maybe like shame people into not doing it, or maybe like make it a tipping service or a slider that says like pay how much royalty you feel. And I feel like that's a great option for people. Collectors would love to pay more royalty fees, and you could do like tokenomics where basically collection could have its own like token, and the more royalties you pay, the more tokens you get, right? Like there's creative ways around this. But at the end of the day, can't really rely on secondary royalties anymore going forward for the next 6 months. Liquidity has dried up, and it's just unfortunate truth is that you need like hype and you need some backing and you need some exclusivity to really just be able to sell anything in this market. And maybe it comes out as like you do a lot of free mints initially to build up that community, and then you do like a very like nice paid mint at a certain price. I do think we're going to start to see like tiers of this. You're going to see this with Izu. I'm not like fully up on this project, but obviously Psychedelic Anonymous has like a ton of people in it, and it's got a lot of name recognition, and there's a lot of hype behind Izu. So I'm sure they can charge a premium, right? As opposed to people who are like, we're just trying to like get started, get off the ground. We don't have that like multi-million-dollar backing or VC backing or, social media clout that like people can leverage, right? Not clout, following, I guess.
We do. That's the thing with us. Like we do actually have that backing. And like, for example, like people were like, oh yeah, like you guys are making like big promises, which is totally fine. Like again, people have the right to their own opinion. And we said that we were going to start giving, like we were going to give away Rolexes and stuff like that. And we actually did. We gave away a Rolex, literally like Mario Nafal. You know him?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
We're the ones that gave the Rolex in that space.
Oh wow! Okay, amazing. Yeah. It's like those round table ones or something.
Yeah. So we sponsored the space because there's a lot of people in that space. So people kept saying like, because we did like that's one of the things that we're giving away. Okay, like we're giving away Rolexes, we're giving away a Cybertruck this year, even though that people are like, okay, like there's no Cybertruck scene out yet. If you don't want the Cybertruck, we'll give you the dollar value of the Cybertruck. Like, you know what I mean? Talk is cheap kind of thing. So same thing with 2023. Like we're giving away a supercar. Like there's a bunch of things that we're doing. And,
wow. That's crazy.
And it's the whole point that like, again, talk is cheap, but we have the money backing this to do this. And this is the way that we're moving forward. While I'm on the giveaway thing, we are actually, we really appreciate your time. So we're actually going to give you like a free Yeti. So that you can, and because you were on an interview, you are going to have access to like go to the events and go to these things with us. So it'll like bring you kind of like inside of the club kind of thing. So as you know, the min price is 4 ETH, and people think that we're crazy.
4 ETH is a lot, man. That's, but I guess it's depends on like what you're trying to. But look, that's amazing. Look, I really appreciate it. It was great chatting with you guys. I hope to check out the community and be part of it and see how you guys are building this thing out. And,
it was great to meet you, Akhil.
Yeah, it's awesome. And always down to chat further too.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully we can keep connecting for sure. Yep.
Yeah, we will be chatting and stuff like that for sure too. Some more.